how do you feel about students and other people with permits being allowed to carry concealed firearms on campus?
It's the worst idea I've ever heard.
Why is that?
Well, like for example, the Virginia Tech massacre, so many people died because of that shoot. It's just not a good idea. Like, the shootings in Illinois were heartbreaking, and so were the ones at Virginia Tech. And they weren't even allowed to have guns. Imagine what would happen if students were. And I think that carrying guns and being allowed to shoot only because you felt threatened would lead to a lot more heartache and death than necessary.
So how do you feel about the idea of people with permits to carry concealed weapons on campus?
I think it's a dumb idea. There's no reason for it.
Can you elaborate? Why do you think that?
I mean, despite like the recent events at different schools and so on, I just don't think there's a reason for anybody to have. I think it just creates more conflict.
What do you think about the idea of people with permits being allowed to carry guns on campus?
I think that's a very frightening idea, personally, especially people at the age that they are at in college, and especially because, you know, drugs and alcohol are constantly around that combination would definitely not, I don't see help any matters. And with all the shootings that go around as there is, I don't want to know that people actually have guns on top of that, on top of the worry of worrying if someone just does bring one. As far as faculty goes, I could see the reason behind that. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it, but I'd be more okay with that idea than having just any student carry a firearm.
What do you think about the idea of allowing students to carry guns on campus, or anyone, if they have a concealed weapons permit?
I think it's all right, as long as they have a permit.
Why do you think that?
Because I think that you have the right to bear arms, and that shouldn't change depending on our situation.
Okay, and do you think that in light of the Northern Illinois University shootings and Virginia Tech last year that had students been carrying weapons, it would have helped out the situation? Or?
I don't know if that would have helped out. Those were people with rifles.
Right.
They weren't like with the intent to kill a lot of people, not with the intent to, defend themselves. I'm not saying we should carry assault rifles to school. I'm saying we should carry handguns.
So, how do you feel about people with permits being allowed to carry concealed weapons on campus?
For the most part, if they have a permit, I mean, they actually have to go through stuff to get it, and I don't think the unstable people will be able to get permits. So,
okay. And do you think that if a school shooting were to ever happen here, that if students were allowed to carry guns on campus, that would help or hurt the situation?
Depends who's doing the shooting.
Can you elaborate on that, or?
If it's the kid with the permit that goes over the edge and starts shooting people, that's probably not good.
Right.
But, I mean, if some kid's unstable and somebody's actually been trained with guns and can actually put it down faster than the cops would be able to, I guess that'll be better because they'd already be here. Police would have to respond.
How do you feel about the idea that if someone has a permit, they're allowed to carry their concealed firearm on campus?
I have no problem with that.
Why is that?
Because if you have a permit, then you probably aren't doing anything wrong.
Okay. And do you think that if students were allowed to carry guns on campus if they had permits, that would help stop crimes or deter them?
Yes, because I think people would be less likely to commit a crime if they weren't sure if the other person was armed or not.